indicators of physical abuse would be things like unexplainable bruises at any stage of healing anywhere on the body, as well as things like welts or bite marks that appear to be human, or bald spots. Another indicator of physical abuse might be unexplainable burns like cigarette burns or immersion scald burns. This could be from boiling hot water, a curling iron, a flat iron, an electric burner, even a fireplace, anything like that. Unexplainable fractures are also a big sign of physical abuse. These can be fractures to the skull, the nose, arm, leg. A big one is spiral fractures, which happens when you twist the arm or leg too much and it fractures them. The last indicator I'm going to talk about are lacerations and abrasions. Lacerations would be things like deep cuts to the skin or tears in the skin. And an abrasion would be a superficial wound from friction, like when your body gets scraped up when you slide on the concrete, or even things like rug burn when you're dragged across the carpet.
Some behavioral indicators of physical abuse include being self-destructive, withdrawn and aggressive, uncomfortable with physical contact, arriving at school early or staying late as if being afraid to be home, complaining of soreness or moving uncomfortably, wearing clothing inappropriate for the weather, and running away chronically as an adolescent.
Physical neglect is when parents fail to provide the necessities for their children, such as shelter, care, supervision, and food. Most children deal with educational neglect when parents fail to send them to school. Physical and educational neglect results into children not being able to develop fully. Emotional neglect is when parents refuse to give the child the correct help they need. And also when parents give underage children alcohol or drugs.
Behavioral indicators of physical neglect are when a person is constantly tired or fatigued, to the point of even falling asleep. Some show very little or no interest in anything that is going on. They may not be getting the nutrition that they need, so they actually beg or steal food from others. They might even tell you that they have no caretaker at home, so that is a big sign that they're not getting what they need when they're at home. Because they have no caretaker, some of them are frequently tardy or absent from school. Others may be at school for extended periods of time because they get dropped off very early and then picked up very late because it's the only ride that they can get. Some may even be causing harm to themselves because they don't feel like anybody loves them or wants them, so then they are self-destructive.
It is estimated that almost 300,000 children a year are involved in child pornography. Even while children pornography, sexual abuse, and incest are not socially accepted, it has always existed. It's usually concealed, mythicized, or ignored. Children may not feel comfortable talking about what has happened to them. They may have been threatened or told that no one would believe them. Watching for physical signs can be key to saving a child. The physical signs may include torn, stained, or blood under clothing, pain, itching in the genital area, difficulty walking or sitting, bruises or bleeding in external genitalia, venereal diseases, or frequent urinary or yeast infections. If there are any suspicions of sexual abuse, call Child Protective Services immediately. For resources in Muskegon area for survivors and their families, you can look into information from Every Woman's Place or the Children Advocacy Center.
Although sexual abuse is obviously noticed by the physical signs, there are many behaviors that are important for parents and adults to be on the look for to identify sexual abuse in children. Younger children who acquire eating disorders such as anorexia, they feel guilt for things that they have no right feeling guilty for. They throw temper tantrums, develop neurotic disorders. They typically confide in a teacher or a nurse that they've been sexually mistreated. Displaying knowledge about sexual behaviors that children their age shouldn't have any knowledge about. And older children tend to turn to drugs, acting out in a seductive manner, being reluctant to go home, not wanting to change for gym class, attempting to run away, and even as extreme as attempting suicide. Concerns about sexual abuse have steadily risen because of the severe negative effects that it has on children and as those children become adults. They feel trapped, confused, and very hesitant to trust anybody or let new people into their lives. Males who are sexually mistreated typically act out more aggressively, while females usually reside to more depressed behaviors and tend to be quieter. It's very common for the abuser to approach the child with a need for secrecy. The child is told things like nobody will understand our secret, and they're usually threatened with things like your mother will hate you, if you tell someone it will break up your family, I will kill your pet, and they can also be threatened with more abuse, physical or sexual. These comments by the abuser can cause more confusion for the children, ultimately leading to more issues later on. So that's why we as teachers have a very important responsibility to report any suspicion of abuse. It's important that we become aware and familiar with these signs so we can keep our kids and our students safe as possible.
Physical indicators of emotional maltreatment may include speech disorders, delayed physical development, substance abuse, ulcers, asthma, or severe allergies. Cases of maltreatment must be reported by non-professionals and professionals. It is important for educators to be aware of their responsibility to report maltreatment cases. Since they have, most reports have come from educators. 55.7% of maltreatment reports have come from educators, law enforcement, social services, and medical personnel. 19.6% of the cases were reported by friends and family.
There are many different behavioral signs that can indicate emotional maltreatment, including habit disorders. These can be things such as rocking of the body or the sucking of a thumb or toy. Children in these situations may also become antisocial or even destructive of property. They can show signs of sleep disorders and unwillingness to play with other children. These children are also susceptible to behavioral extremes, such as being passive to things that are happening around them or being overly aggressive. A common sign of emotional maltreatment, especially in adolescence, is delinquent behavior and being developmentally delayed in one or more areas. If you or someone you know is struggling with any of these kinds of abuse or neglect, please know you are not alone, and there are people and organizations out there who can help you. Some resources include the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the National Center on Domestic Violence, Trauma, and Mental Health, as well as STAND for Families Free of Violence.